Hello students, we are now going to start with the last chapter of our unit test, that is pollination and fertilization, lesson number 5. So as you know that pollination is the process of transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. And you have studied in class 8th also self-pollination and cross-pollination. So let us go through it once again. So pollination, transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma. Now it can be either on the very same flower, that is self-pollination, then it will also be known as autogamy. So learn the new term autogamy when it occurs if the anthers fall on the stigma of the same flower. Now if the pollen grains, they land on the stigma of the other flower but of the same plant, then we call it geitonogamy. Both these are types of self-pollination. And if the pollen grains, they land on the stigma of some other plant, flower of another plant, but that plant should be of the same species, then we call it cross-pollination, or another name is allogamy. Fine. Now here they have explained that in an orchard or in a garden there may be many types of plants growing of the different varieties like guavas, mangoes, okay, and when pollen grains, they may land on some other plants also, stigma of some other plants, but will those pollen grains further develop? No, pollen grains will further develop only when they fall on the stigma of the flower of the same species. Means pollen of mango flower should land on stigma of mango plant only. Then only the pollen grains will germinate, otherwise all others will fail to germinate and perish. Next, they have explained self-pollination and when can self-pollination occur. So to self-pollination to occur, basically two things are required. One is bisexuality. In the previous chapter we have read bisexuality means bisexual flower. That is, flowers must have both male and female reproductive parts in the same flower. Okay. Second term is homogamy. Homogamy refers to the condition when anthers and stigma mature at the same time. So when anthers and stigma will mature at the same time, their gametes will be formed at the same time. So then only self-pollination will be possible. Then we have to study what are the advantages of self-pollination and disadvantages. So advantages are that it is a surer type of pollination, because it is when it is on the same flower, bisexual flower, and both are maturing at the same time, so 100% the pollen grains will fall on the stigma and new plants will develop then. So parental characters are preserved. There is no wastage of pollen grains, and the flowers may not be large, showy, attractive, or they don't have to secrete nectar or scent, because they are very close to each other and pollination is 100% possible. So, but apart from these, there are certain disadvantages also. Disadvantages are that continued self-pollination, generation after generation, actually weakens the variety of the species. And the seeds which will be formed in the coming generations, they may not be of good in quality, and they may give rise to, means the new offsprings which will be formed, they may not be that much effective. The weaker or defective characters cannot be eliminated. For example, if the plant is susceptible to diseases or is having some other disadvantage, maybe it is not fully grown, whatever, then those characters can never be eliminated, because same characters will be coming, because it is the seeds will be formed from self-pollination. And then third is, it will not produce new varieties. So there will be no new variants, no new recombinations. Whatever the parental characters will be coming in the next generations as such. So these are some of the disadvantages of self-pollination. Then let us talk about cross-pollination. So cross-pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anthers of one plant to the stigma of another plant of the same species. Now again, it has some advantages and some disadvantages. Advantages are, here the offsprings which will be formed will be healthier and the seeds are produced will be abundant and they are sure to live, they will be viable. Then new varieties will be formed. Most important, by cross pollination we will get new varieties, different varieties, and some good characters may appear in those varieties. But at the same time there will be some disadvantages also. So disadvantages, the biggest disadvantage is this will not be surer. Like self pollination is sure type, it may not be certain, because it is a matter of chance whether the pollen grains land on the stigma or whether they are unable to. Okay, so in such a case most of the pollen grains are wasted. So this is another disadvantage, wastage of pollen grains. And the process is uneconomical for the plant, because for cross pollination we need some agency. That agency may be honeybees, maybe wasps, maybe butterflies, birds. So to attract them, the plants have to bear the flowers. Those flowers should be large, should be colored, scented. Then only the pollinating agents will appear. So we can say that this is uneconomical for the plant. The next topic is nature favors cross pollination. But nature always favors cross pollination. For that, plants have developed certain characteristic features in them. What are those characteristic features? Like first is unisexuality. Like most of the flowers, they are unisexual. Male flowers anthers in one flower and female parts grow in another flower. So for that, the pollen grains have to land on some other flower, and this will favor cross pollination. Second is dichogamy. Now first we have read homogamy. This is dichogamy. It is opposite of homogamy. In dichogamy, that means different timings of maturation of androecium and gynoecium. When androecium matures first, means initially, then it is called protandry. When anthers mature earlier than stigma, examples are salvia and sunflower. And if female part grows earlier, it matures earlier than anthers, then it is called protogyny. So in both these cases, what will happen? Even the flower may have both the floral reproductive parts. The part one is growing earlier, maturing earlier than the later. So then self-pollination will not be possible. So this is a way to favor cross-pollination. The third term is self-sterility. As the name suggests, self-sterility. Even if in some of the plants, even if the pollen grains fall on the stigma, then also they fail to further develop, because plant does not allow the growth of the pollen on the same flower. This is called self-sterility. In such cases, only the pollen from another plant of the same species will complete the process, further process, that is fertilization and all. Okay, and its examples are like sunflower and orchids. The next term is hercogamy. Children, hercogamy refers to, here herco means barrier, some kind of mechanical barrier. In some flowers, what happens, that stigma and the anthers, they are separated by a mechanical barrier that may be a hood, may be a membrane like structure, so that if the pollens fall, they do not reach the stigma. Okay, only the outside agent, for example, some honeybee will visit the flower, it will pierce into the flower, it will remove the hood, and then only it can suck the nectar, and in this way it may carry some pollen grains, and thus this can also be a method to prevent self-pollination and favor cross-pollination. So the fifth one is heterostylily. Heterostyle, this is another way of preventing self-pollination. So in this we will refer to this picture. Here what happens, heterostyle, style as the name suggests represents the style. You know that female part, gynoecium, has three parts: stigma, style and ovary. So here what happens, either the style becomes very long, like in this part A. Style is so long, here is the stigma, here is the ovary, and anthers are born somewhere here. Very means the distance is very much, so that anthers may not be able to reach the pollen grains may not be able to reach the stigma. It can be other way also. Anthers may be born here, and style, stigma and ovary, the style is very short, this much. So again see the distance. The distance is such large that the pollen grains may not be able to reach this stigma. So only again when some outside agent, that means honeybees, birds, butterflies, etc. will come, they will go deep inside, and then only they may carry the pollen grains, then only the cross pollination will be possible. So all these methods are to prevent self pollination and to favor cross pollination. Our next topic is agents of cross pollination. So this topic you have read in class 8. You know that how the pollen grains will be taken to various other species of the plants. It can be either by insects. So insect pollination is known as entomophilous. Entomophilous. For favoring entomophilous, usually such kind of flowers are large, they are brightly colored, they produce nectar or scent, and their pollen grains are sticky, so that whenever the insects visit them, they get stuck to their body parts, such as wings and their legs. This also you have read wind pollinated. Some plants, they have pollen grains which are very small and light in color, light in weight, so that they can be easily carried by the wind. Wind pollination is known as anemophilous. Anemophilous. And usually the flowers are small, they are not brightly colored, but they are loosely arranged. They are so loosely attached that a light breeze, just a slight breeze of wind, may carry large number of pollen grains with them. Okay, then sometimes water pollinated pollen grains may be taken away by water, then we call it hydrophilous. This you have read in class 8 if you remember, Vallisneria. Vallisneria, a plant, aquatic plant, and we have read that when plant matures, when its male flowers mature, the anthers, the pollens are liberated in the top layers of the water, and the female flowers, their stigma, their style becomes so long and it reaches the top layers like this, and then pollen grains can easily pollinate them. Okay, so example is Vallisneria. So then some flowers which are pollinated by birds, we use the term ornithophily. Ornithophily. So you must have seen birds visiting the flowers for taking nectar, and in such process they also pollinate the flowers. Learn another name. This is elephophily. So children, elephophily, this is pollination by elephants, and this the particular example is Rafflesia, the largest flower. Its petals are so long that elephant, when it walks on the ground where it is growing, the pollen grains will get stuck to the foot of the elephant, and then it may be carried to the stigma. So these are some 4-5 types of agents, maybe entomophily, anemophily, hydrophily, ornithophily, and elephophily. Then our last topic is some examples of pollination. So here they have given one example is pea plant. Just to show you, this is the pea flower. Pea flower has large single petal which covers the 2 wing petals which are inside this petal. This is called standard petal. These are the 2 wing petals. When we open up, they look like this. Inside the wing petal we have keel petal, and inside the keel petal, then like we have read in the previous chapter, there will be androecium, which is diadelphous. That means in 2 groups, 9 arranged in one group and 1 in separately. So this is the free stamen, and towards the inner side lies your female part, that is carpel. This is stigma, style, and ovary. Okay, and one example, one picture they have referred here is of maize plant. So you can see that maize inflorescence, it is loosely arranged. These are the male inflorescence, we call them tassel, because maize it is wind pollinated. So just a slight breeze of wind will carry these pollen grains, and then they may land here and there on the surrounding species. These are the stigma, the female cobs, inflorescence, female cobs, they may land here, right? And this is to show, this is for pea plant favors insect pollination, and this maize plant wind pollination. Okay children, in the next topic we will discuss in the next video. Thank you.